Back in the late 80s and early 90s, Sega and Nintendo duked it out for the #1 spot in the video game market. Even though Nintendo ultimately won the war, Sega won quite a lot of battles, and it was all thanks to the Sega Genesis, also known as the Sega Mega Drive outside of the United States. It was released back in 1989, and it was a direct competitor to the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Cutting-edge advertisements, edgy game characters, amazing console add-ons. For a while, it looked like that Sega was going to beat Nintendo and be the system everyone needed to have, until the release of the Sega Saturn, when everything just flipped upside down. Fast forward to 30 years later, 2019, the Sega Mega Drive Mini has just been released. Is it worth picking one of these up? Let's take a look together. Now let's do a good old overview on what comes in the package. Now first up is the USB cable, and now this is not taking a hit on Sega because Nintendo and Sony did the exact same thing with their mini consoles. They did not include an AC adapter in the package. You'd think that Sega would actually get a leg up on the competition by including an AC adapter. Even though it's not really a big thing to worry about because my computer was able to power this, some people don't have that luxury and they just want to use it in their living room. And sometimes TVs aren't enough. I tried powering this with a TV and it wasn't powerful enough to keep this stable. So yeah, it looks like you have to buy an AC power adapter to get this thing working if you can't use something like a computer or another sort of power device. The package also comes with an HDMI cable because just like all the other mini consoles in recent times, this thing outputs through HDMI. So it was great that they included this, and it is a bit of a step up over not including an AC adapter. And now we move on to the fun stuff, and we start with the controller, which is a USB variant of the original controller that was released with the Sega Genesis back in 1989. And in the last few years or so, I have used a few aftermarket Sega controllers, but this one, even though technically it's not an aftermarket controller, it was released by Sega, this feels very nice. The buttons all have tactical audible feedbacks, which is great, and it doesn't leave you wondering whether you press the button at all, which is a really great feeling. I love it so much. And it's only a 3-button controller, it's not a 6-button controller. And the Sega Mega Drive Mini comes with 2 of these. And now, the star of the show, the Sega Mega Drive Mini itself. This mini model is based off of the original Sega Mega Drive back in 1989. And the cool thing about this mini model is that the volume slider actually acts as a volume slider. And then we have the on and off button to turn the system on and off, a reset button which will take you back to the main menu if you ever want to reset a game, and a power indicator letting you know the system is turned on. The controllers go in the front just like in the original Sega Mega Drive, but on the back here things get a little bit different. You have the USB connector which gives the system power, and an HDMI which will display all the signal. And something else that's really cool about this device, the cartridge slot opens up, even though there's nothing in there. And this section here where the Sega CD will get plugged into, this actually pops off for something. But what exactly does this allow? Well, take a look at this image. Yeah, unbelievable, right? You can turn a Sega Mega Drive Mini into the ultimate Sega Mega Drive Mini by including a mini Sega CD and a mini Sega 32X with a Sonic cartridge sticking out the top of it. That is amazing. And that pretty much sums up everything that comes in the package. Power cable, HDMI cable, 2 controllers, and the Sega Mini itself. The only thing that's left to do now is to plug all this in, explore any other features that probably come with the system, try out a few games, and see how they play. And now we move on to the fun part, and that is the games. And now first you've got a couple of settings up here, so you can select a language like we just did. Screen settings, it can let you choose between the standard 4:3 format or go widescreen in the 16:9 format. And you can also press the C button to enable the CRT filter, which can make it look like it's being played on the old TVs from back in the day. And if you stick with the 4:3 format, you can change the background to a TV with speakers around it, or just dots, or have absolutely nothing. I'll probably choose the dots, even though they technically look like squares. And if you press the B button when you're on the main menu to select the game, you can choose between actually looking at the game head on, or looking at the game on the side, like it would have looked on the actual cartridges. I personally like the front look on, so let's just keep it at that, and let's move on to a few games. We'll first start off with the ever classic Sonic the Hedgehog. Okay, so first impressions, I'm not noticing any input lag or any delay, which is great, because that's usually the biggest complaint when it comes to playing retro games on modern devices like TVs or monitors. But I'm not noticing anything that's very off-putting. Everything looks great, everything looks nice and sharp, and yeah, compared to the original Mega Drive where everything was played very slow, because in Australia our region is PAL instead of NTSC, so when this game was released, it was very slow compared to the NTSC version. But it's actually very quick, very playable, and very, very enjoyable. Hey, so here we are in Streets of Rage 2, another title that a lot of you probably would have grown up playing, and once again, just like inside the Hedgehog, there is no input lag that I'm noticing whatsoever. Everything looks nice, feels very nice to play as well. A smooth 60 frames a second most likely. So again, nothing to complain about. Other than maybe if it was back in the 90s, you probably would have complained about, at least parents would, complain about the very violent and very graphic nature of this game. But this is actually what made the game very fun. As I'm throwing a pipe at nothing and I get knocked out, I'm dead. Okay, and next up we have Road Rash 2. Probably another game you may have grown up with playing. Personally, I haven't. This is actually the first time I'm playing it. And I actually can't tell whether it's got something to do with input lag, maybe it doesn't, but the controls do feel very tedious, and it does look very pixelated, although in an odd way it is fun to play, because all you are, apart from racing, is knocking your rivals off of their bikes, and I just punched that guy dead in the face. So this game, in an odd way, is pretty fun. I just wish the controls were not so tedious, but we're talking about a game from back in the 90s versus today's standards. So if this game was remastered for today's main consoles, I reckon that the controls would feel a little better. And now we move on to Castlevania. And this is actually the first time I've played a Castlevania game, and first impressions, the colors are very vibrant. Gameplay is very smooth, controls are very responsive. For a 16-bit game, it's actually very, very good. Nothing bad to say about it so far. Apart from this boss, which is actually giving me a real hard time. Oh wait, looks like I'm about to beat him. I'm not gonna stop until I beat him. I'm not gonna stop until I beat him, I don't care. Come on, 2 more hits, come, give me 2 more hits, 2 more hits, come on, give me 2 more hits, 2 more hits. And there you go. Oh, okay, I don't know what the hell you're doing. You're twitching, and are you gonna stop twitching? Oh, I have to hit it some more. And gone. So should you buy the Sega Mega Drive Mini, despite it costing $140 at the moment? Personally, I would say yes. It's a great addition for any retro gamer to add to his or her collection. You can't go wrong with an amazing selection of 42 games to choose from. The build quality is very nice, controls feel very responsive and very durable. I really don't have anything bad to say about this console, except for not including an AC power adapter. Well, thanks for watching guys, and I hope I helped you make up your mind about whether to purchase the Sega Mini at the moment or wait for a little while. But regardless, hit the like button if you enjoyed this little overview, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already for more future content coming your way, and I hope to see you in the next one. Oh, and remember, AC adapters are very important.